Greetings traders, welcome to my trading journal. Today I am not going to talk about any of my trades. Rather, I would be discussing about the most misinterpreted or misunderstood concept of any option trading is option premiums. As we all know that option premiums are consisting of two parts. One, intrinsic value and extrinsic value. Extrinsic value can also be called as time value. The confusion between these two terms can be simplified greatly by putting two expiries side by side. So this is today's expiry. So today we got Nifty expired on 15,940 approximately. And this is the snapshot of the expiry which was taken after 3:30 p.m. today, right? This is what you see on the left hand side of this particular Excel sheet. And this is again another snapshot of our current expiry, that is 21st of July. So these are just the snapshot that I put in, or I took it from the option chain of 14 July, which recently got expired, and this is the active expiry that we have, right? So this is the exact snapshot. I put that in Excel sheet to do some calculation that we will see later. But then if you see that all these are strikes, very basic things I'll try and cover in a minute or so. These are strikes. These are all call strikes. These are all put strikes, right? So today Nifty expired at 15,940. All strikes which expired beyond this spot, these are called OTM strikes. All these strikes are OTM strike. Similarly, all the strikes below the spot, these are also OTM strike on the put side. The strike which is very close to the spot, they are called as ATM strikes. And all those which are not OTM and ATM, these are called in the money strikes. These are in the money strikes on the call side. These are in the money strikes on the put side. Similarly, you go anywhere on any expiry, you will see all the strikes which are beyond the spot are OTM strikes as far as calls are concerned, and all the strikes which are below the spot on the P side are called as OTM strikes. So all the strategy that you would see on the option selling part of the world is, to take care of or to get the inherent advantage of time decay, right? We all know that. I'm not going to cover all those things today, but then all these strikes have time value associated with it. So then, since this is a current expiry which recently got expired, all the OTM strike that you would see, they ended being worthless, right? So all these OTM strike that you see on the put side, these are completely worthless. And this is the live data. I've just taken the snapshot from the option chain, but then this that you can confirm from NSE site as well. And these strikes are in the money, and every value on this chart which has got expired, all this entire contract has expired, all these values you see both on call and put side are called as intrinsic values. Why they are called as intrinsic value is because this contract has finished, the contract has ended, and all these contracts, all these strikes, whatever they have right now is just the intrinsic value of their own, right? They do not have any extrinsic value associated with it because there is no time left, there is no time value associated with all the contracts of this particular expiry. But you would see there is some value for some of these in the money options, and we would know what are these and how these are calculated, right? So now if you see that Nifty has got expired at 15,940, you would see that this guy 15,900 strike on the call side has a value of around 40 rupees. Why it is 40? It is because this strike ended or expired 40 points in the money, right? So if you subtract this 15,940 by this strike number, you would get this number, right? So all these values, if you see now, if you subtract this 15,940 from, or if you subtract 15,850 from 15,940, you would get this number. So all these values which have ended in the money, they have some intrinsic value associated with it, and the value of it is how much long the underlying went from all these strikes. Similarly, on the put side too, this guy, if you see this 950 strike, this 950 strike ended 10 point in the money, right? If you subtract again this 9, this particular strike from this one, you will get this 10 rupees. Similarly, 16,000 minus 15,940, you would get 60, right? So on and so forth. This is how all these options are going to have some intrinsic value associated with it. So all OTM options will be expired worthless, that you can see over here. All the in the money options will have some intrinsic value, and it is the amount or the points from which or how much points they are away from the spot, right? On the call side, this guy is 40 points in the money. 950 strike on the put side is 10 points in the money, right? Similarly, 16,000 put is 60 point in the money because Nifty expired on 15,940, right? This is how we calculate intrinsic and extrinsic value, and these calculations are really very important when you generate a payoff chart of any strategy, 2-leg, 4-leg strategies like strangles, straddles, iron condors, iron flies, butterflies, credit spread, debit spreads. All those values, when the payoff chart is calculated, they basically take care of or they do consider all these intrinsic value. What would be the intrinsic value at the time of expiry if Nifty expires at this point, and that is how the payoff charts or the values or break evens are calculated. Now let's shift our focus to current expiry. So now you can see now all these options, all these OTM options over here. Even for this particular contract, the spot is trading at 15,940. All these OTM at the money, in the money, at the money, in the money, all these options would be very similar to what we had seen over here, right? So all these OTM options, you would see there is time value associated with it. So if you see all these options on a expired contract have zero value, they do not have any time value, and this active contract have some time value associated with for all the OTM options, both on call side and put side, right? They are, if Nifty is going to expire exactly at 15,950 on 21st July, all these values are going to be zero, right? And that's exactly what short seller or option sellers will do, right? They will have this short strangle, short straddles. All these option strategies are basically opened to get all these values to zero, right? That's the only intent option sellers have. They just want to, because now there is uncertainty for next 7 or 8 days. For all that uncertainty, these are the premiums which option sellers collect from option buyers, right? And these are called time value, right? And these in the money options that we have on this active contract, these guys have both intrinsic and extrinsic value associated with them. So let me repeat. So all these contracts which are on expired expiry, you will see all these values irrespective of whether they are in the money, at the money, OTM, they all have only intrinsic value because this contract has expired. This active contract, only OTM options have time value associated with it, both on the call and put side. And these in the money options that you see both on again call and put side on an active contract will have both intrinsic and extrinsic value. And how do we want to calculate that? Let's just have a look at it. So if you can see here now, uh, this guy 15,900 strike, which is on the current contract, which is again we know that it is 39 or 40 points in the money because spot is trading at 940, right? It has intrinsic value of 40 rupees, and this is the time value. If you subtract this 164 from the intrinsic value, you would get this 125. And this 125 is nothing but the extrinsic value or the time value associated with this contract. Yes, even in the money options you would see will have some time value associated with it. And if you calculate the similar in the money intrinsic and time value of each of these strikes both on the call and put side, you will have to apply the same formula, that is what is the intrinsic value of the contract and what is the current what is the premium at which it is trading at. If you subtract that, you will get the time value associated with it. Another interesting observation that you would see, that these are the maximum at the money strikes that you would see on the current contract will have the highest time value. And if you go further away from the at the money strike, the time value you will see that it is decreasing from 112 to 92 to 73 to 57 and 44 and so on and so forth. Similarly, on the put side, 155 is the highest time value that one can get, and all OTM, far OTM options will have decreasing time value associated with all those options. And interestingly, even if you see the time value associated with in the money option 2 gets the farther you go away from the spot, the time value will be decreasing over here. So if you see, another conclusion that we can draw from this particular chart is time value is maximum when or the time value of any contract is maximum when that particular contract is at the money. And after that, whether it's a OTM or in the money, time value associated with all those contracts decreases. It's basically directly proportional or inversely proportional to the distance of that strike from the spot. So let me just repeat what we have learned, right? So all these this is an expired contract, and this is the current contract. All the premiums that you see on the expired contract have only intrinsic value. It does not have any time value because there is no time left. This is already a expired contract. This is a current contract. Every strike that you see both on call and put side, it will have both time value and intrinsic and extrinsic value. All these OTM options, they will only have time value, both call and put OTM options. The intrinsic value or in the money option contracts will have both time value and the intrinsic value. And I've told how to calculate this time value associated with it. And another conclusion we drew from it is the time value is maximum when at the money strikes. The time value associated with the rest of the strike decreases the moment they go away from the spot. These concepts like intrinsic, extrinsic, time value, in the money, OTM, out of the money, how to calculate the payoff graphs, all these concepts were quite difficult to understand when I started learning option chains and basics of option trading. And having looked at the expired contract option chain, have clarified most of my doubts about extrinsic and intrinsic values. And I just thought of putting that in front of all of you. I hope this session was useful. If you really like the content on this particular channel, please hit like and subscribe button. Thank you very much.